About tokenization on Stellar. Let's talk about this for a moment before we get into some of these other key things. So she retweeted this, what was it, like 2-3 days ago? What was it, the third? Yeah, so about a couple days ago. Tokenization is taken off. I couldn't agree more. You see it from almost every angle at this particular point. Obviously, we talk about quant a lot when it comes to tokenization, especially real world assets, but this is Stellar, and this is from Danelle. Tokenization taken off. Make no mistake, Stellar is the network institutions are turning to bring real world assets to the masses. This is a minute and a half. Listen to what she has to say. I'll give you my own key takeaway of why this is important. And on top of that, how about this for a second? Stellar, Soroban, Trezor. Yeah, your Trezor. Do you have a Trezor? Want to pay attention to that. Anyway, let's play this. Thanks for being here. Here we go.
And we've seen its features make it an easy choice for issuers to build on and take their assets to market. Those features include like the clawback functionality and other compliance features that regulated entities are going to have to leverage. But I also want to highlight that further to SDF's mission, tokenization on Stellar is providing financial access to new customers in new markets in a new way. People who previously were not able to leverage these tools, they now can. This is what our work is all about. With tokenization, the Stellar network strengths and SDF's mission have converged and taken hold in the real world. Tokenization may have now become a buzzworthy thing because institutional interest and fund sizes are growing and regulatory changes are making room for new opportunities. But once we really start to recognize who these financial tools are reaching that were previously excluded, and we're hoping that we see a lot more of that, what it will do for them, and what unforeseen innovations are unlocked, more people will understand that it's a game changer.
Right. A game changer, as she would say. Now, a few key things. This is not going to be a real long Stellar segment tonight, but she did mention that Messari stated in his latest crypto thesis that funds on Stellar specifically have grown to the plurality of tokenized treasuries. Remember how earlier in the outline, at the very beginning of the show, it said pay attention to the word treasure, treasury, treasuries. But these treasuries, right, tokenized, and the largest liquid instrument that any Wall Street firm had actually offered on chain. Any Wall Street firm? Wow. And what does that also include? Stablecoins. So Stellar, listen to this, was designed for asset tokenization many, many years ago. That's crazy. So why is this so significant, and why does it matter to you as the retail holder, like you, me, and everybody else? Well, if anything, it's what it means for Stellar moving forward. So in my own research, from what I gathered based off of what Danelle just mentioned, that little minute and a half clip, and there's, of course, a full version. You're more than welcome to watch that on X or YouTube. But it's just that. Growing tokenized securities. Messari's recent crypto thesis highlighting specifically Stellar's dominance in tokenized securities, of course, is a significant for numerous reasons. But the things that stood out for me was validation of design. It validates Stellar's original focus on asset tokenization. Yeah, check mark, right? It also demonstrates its success in a key use case envisioned, of course, several years ago. But there's a thing called market traction. And of course, this is where a lot of people complain about Stellar. Oh, it doesn't move. Well, it hasn't moved yet. You got to keep in mind, Soroban's not even here yet. There's some other things that we don't quite have finished yet, especially when it comes to ISO 222 fully being implemented. I'm more of a guy that loves to see things fully implemented because I realize then that's the real key to mass adoption. So yeah, back to the whole thing about market traction. Holding the majority of tokenized treasuries indicates, of course, a strong adoption and trust in just that, Stellar and its network for representing traditional assets, of course, on chain. There is a lot of institutional appeal when it comes to Stellar, and especially when it comes to tokenization of assets, RWAs, and so on. The largest liquid instrument offered on chain by Wall Street firms signifies institutional interest and potential for wider adoption of Stellar for financial applications. I mean, say what you want with the whole SEC fiasco, they didn't go after Stellar. Why is that? I think that's the answer. I think that's the answer all along. It's because the ties to Wall Street. And we've seen that with other examples, especially when it comes to Ethereum and Ethereum-based projects tied to Wall Street. I mean, I hate to use this analogy, but they're all in bed together, whether we like that or not. What about a regulatory advantage? Well, yeah, I think Stellar has the one up. But Stellar's built-in compliance features make it more attractive, of course, for regulated institutions compared to other blockchains. And oh, by the way, remember the coverage we did about 2-3 weeks ago, showing you that specific new white paper that's the blueprint for proper regulations moving forward? Is that just a coincidence? I think not. But what stands out, of course, for Stellar, especially right now moving forward? Well, based on current trends, some key aspects, of course, stand out for its future. And for me, it's about roughly 4 to 5 different ones I want to talk about for a second. It's this continued growth in tokenization. Specifically, the success in treasuries could attract other asset classes and further solidify Stellar's position in the space. What's a great example of that? Well, Franklin Templeton, all right? They really stand out. What about bridging TradeFi and DeFi? Isn't that one of the most attractive things about Stellar? Of course, those on and off ramps. Stellar's ability to cater to both traditional finance and decentralized finance, DeFi, could very well position itself as a bridge between those specific worlds. Yeah, I don't think it could be. I think it will be. Now, this whole thing about regulatory compliance, back to this topic for a second. Stellar's focus on regulatory compliance could be crucial as global regulations for digital assets evolve. Will that cause price action to also evolve? Well, take it as you will. But there always will be competition. How so? Well, think about it. Stellar realizes that Ethereum and Solana control a big, large amount of the overall market. What's a perfect, example of this? Through smart contracts. Say what you want. When you look at the statistics, it shows that roughly, was it 25 to 30%? I know I said 90% in the past, but I got more accurate about it. That was the past. I'm talking about recent. 25 to 31% of Ethereum smart contracts control the overall market. But Ethereum and Solana are dominating in that regards to smart contracts. Other blockchains are also, of course, exploring tokenization. So Stellar needs to be maintaining a competitive edge. And I think, if anything, we are soon going to see that in the light of what's coming out with Soroban, that premier smart contract platform, over 100 plus projects being onboarded. You want to talk about a perfect example of, wow, flip of the switch. Well, that's a lot of projects being onboarded. And on top of that, last video for Stellar, and we even did on the live show talking about MoneyGram, about 14 projects, or not even projects, companies, excuse me. They're not even projects, established companies, right? Going live in 2024 with both MoneyGram and Stellar. That's big in itself. And we're not even to the whole thing of what's going to happen with Soroban. So there's a lot to be mentioned. And what's essential to me is this combination of community and developer ecosystem. Say what you want. You've seen the whole thing of Tomer Weller, right? Doing the whole thing of these interviews, right? Block by block and so on. He keeps people involved. There's a big community. At the end of the day, Stellar's focus on asset tokenization, the growing market share, institutional interest, do in fact, in my opinion, position itself for a solid, solidified future. However, staying ahead of competition, fostering community, and navigating regulatory landscapes will be critical, of course, for its continued success. But I really think they realize that. Otherwise, why would they write a whole blueprint? So, getting more into this, I know that seemed like that was the conclusion. I want to share this part. I thought this was so cool. I mean, at the end of the day, why not share some of this stuff? So here it is. And this is from Tomer Weller, the guy we were talking about earlier. So Tomer retweeted this. And basically speaking, you will see here that he wanted to see the whole thing for continued support or add support for Soroban smart contract. So this is some of the best hardware wallet signing experience I've seen or ever seen for smart contracts. Phenomenal work. And have you noticed this lately? Have you noticed that it's not just, for instance, like what we shared the other night with XTC, right? With Tangent, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. One of their guys reached out. Now you see this in regards to, Trezor. And if anything, why is all that? Well, again, supply and demand, these guys talk to each other. So yes, Stellar, this whole thing of adding support with this firmware update for your Trezor. I know some of you guys have that. For Soroban smart contract. Getting it already ready before it goes live, I think that's a very responsible and a well thought out thing to do. If we're preparing for a shock, which in my opinion, there's going to be shock. You can't just have 100+ projects going live with a smart contract platform and just be like, yeah, all 100 of them are not going to do anything. No, you're going to have some rising stars out of the mix. But the point is, people want to see the support for their particular project from the ecosystem. And it simply makes sense. You got to create that. You can't wait until the future after everything goes live and then people invested into some of those tokens and pre-sales and so on, and you don't have any type of support. So they got this. Getting more into this, check this out right here. Here it is. This is actually listed for somebody, from Trezor to do the coding and put the right firmware upgrade. Stellar, as support for Soroban smart contract. This was December 21st, kind of flew out on the radar. Stellar will upgrade its mainnet protocol. That's incorrect because we had a delay, but it's basically any day now in February. Marks the most significant upgrade since the launch of the Stellar network. Introducing support for Soroban smart contracts. So it's all there. It's all laid out there. And there it is. I know a lot of you guys have a Trezor, right? I'm not oblivious to it. So yeah, once again, I have to give kudos to Stellar for their schema being extremely sanely designed. That's bullish. That is basically realizing, hey, we got a big deal coming up here soon with Soroban, and let's get some things ready set up. You like to see that. So with that said, that concludes the Stellar coverage of the night. And if anything, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because you want to know something, I do feel as though that is some bullish news moving forward. And shout out to Trezor for recognizing that, right?